Welcome to the Exchange Podcast. What's your name? What do you do? And where are you from?
So, Michael Iuculano, I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona, and I do a lot of alternate financing for businesses and real estate acquisition and financing.
Really interesting. Welcome to the podcast, first of all.
Absolutely.
How
Thanks
did
for
you?
having me.
Yeah, it's been great to I've read a lot about you now, and you've built such an inspiring business and a very interesting story. So, what originally pulled you into real estate initially?
At the time, I guess it would have been what, 2000. I kind of like had my eye on it really out of high school, maybe right out of high school. So maybe like 2000, 2001, graduated high school in May of 2000. So, you're trying to figure out what do I want to do for a career? What seems cool? What are my buddies doing? And really very quickly kind of learned that most people who are wealthy and successful, which is what I wanted to be, had their hand in real estate in some way, shape, or form. So I kind of just, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I didn't want to be an inventor or something crazy. So I dabbled in that, dabbled in some other things, ultimately ended up going into lending, into traditional lending. Did very well. At the time, I saw a lot of my buddies getting into that space because there was a lot of, in 2002, when I got in, there was rates were pretty good. The markets were decent. And I had friends that were making a lot of money. And I thought to myself, I said, man, I could do that. I can do it better. And I did. And ended up getting into that space, stayed in that space for about 7 years on the traditional side of lending. And then I ended up going into private hard money, where I've been really focused since 2009, although we are a full service firm and we do all types of financing.
So, you started in 2000, right? During basically like the dot-com boom. Why didn't you go into tech from the dot-com boom? Because at that point everybody was like raising a bunch of money for basically no product and everything like that, kind of similar to what's happening now. But why did you decide like I'm gonna go into real estate when tech might have been a much more attractive offer initially, like a short term was?
Interestingly enough, I tell everyone that if I wasn't doing what I was doing now, ironically, I'd be in digital marketing because I'm fascinated by it. And I'm fascinated by the fact that I believe that, and I've always thought that it's the best marketer wins, not the best salesperson, right? I'd rather take an okay salesperson with great marketing than a great salesperson with okay marketing. There's a difference between marketing and sales. And, so ironically, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I probably would be in some sort of digital marketing or tech. It's fascinating. It's crazy what things can be done, what you can build, what you can program, what you can automate. Uh, for example, AI, right? I mean, AI is kind of taking over the world right now.
Yeah. So you're really interested in digital marketing. How do you incorporate that into your real estate business?
Well, I mean, so understand that the bulk of what I do is more lending. When I say real estate, it's
Yeah.
because lending
So
is tied to real estate. We have a full digital marketing team. They handle everything from us, Google, social media, email marketing, our CRMs, our drip campaigns, like everything A to Z. And so I've been doing digital marketing as a primary source of business since 2009, maybe even a little earlier than that.
what percentage of your deals or leads come from social media?
Social media, I would say maybe 15%. I mean, we get a lot of referrals, we get a lot of past clients. I get a lot of other brokers that are in this industry that don't necessarily do alternate lending, but they know that I do. And then I would say that obviously the biggest part would be the digital marketing for the bulk of our clients.
So you guys aren't doing like you guys are doing cold outreach, like emailing or
Not so much. I mean,
inbound.
we built a pretty sizable name and reputation. We built a pretty sizable and solid reputation online with Google and such, obviously adding in AIO and stuff like that now as well.
So you guys are doing
Say again?
geo like GPT it's like SEO but for ChatGPT.
Yeah, like AIO,
Yeah,
where we have started to in the past couple months to start to implement that. So yeah, I mean, we are migrating that way. Not all the way, but partially.
of course. How do you think that AI will affect your business in the coming next 5 years?
I think it's massively going to affect it. It probably already has. I mean, if it hasn't affected somebody's business, I- probably probably they need to wake up. The reality is, I'm not like a huge person of change, but what I'm learning is the more people are willing to change and just kind of adapt. One, it's inevitable, and the two, the more willing and the faster you do it, the more you can evolve and the more you can not be left behind.
How do you think the lending industry will change from AI? Do you think we're going to see more of similar? I think Coinbase has something like this. I might be mistaken, but where you can take a loan out with just applying it in a couple seconds. How do you see that coming in with AI in that?
Well, I mean, what they're doing is more loans against the portfolio, which is obviously way easier
Leverage?
because
Yeah,
that's already there. That's like a margin account, right? It's not really anything to qualify. Like, who cares what someone's credit is or income is in that situation? You're lending on what's already there, and they control what's there. So that's super easy. From a mortgage standpoint, I think what you're going to see is more automation. I think you're going to see more because I think the market is definitely craving it. They're craving a faster process. They're craving and more so for the standard deals, right? Obviously, there's deals that are one-off. They're very particular. They're self-employed. How they make their money is very specific. For your kind of normal W-2, not a lot of craziness going on. I do see that becoming way more automated. Um, and as far as the deals that are more off the beaten path or a little riskier, or questionable, I see that maybe helping a little bit, but not as much as your standard stuff.
it's the more specialized thing that you'll think will stay.
Yeah.
What's the biggest deal that you've ever done?
I think we were at 6 million, about 6 million. Yeah, a little over.
Who's the most successful person in your phone?
Hmm, man. I've got a lot of them. I can't say any names, but
Sure.
there's definitely some successful people. I make it a point to hang out with people that are way, way elevated over me. I think that's key to life.
Have you heard the saying or like a quote? You are like the five people you surround yourself with.
It's true.
Is that something you live by?
Oh, yeah. I like being the bottom guy on the totem pole.
How do you get people to let you be the bottom guy on the totem pole? Because they have the same
Actually, a
type of
great question. It's so funny. Nobody ever asks that. They just always say, Michael, you know everybody. Michael, you're in this crew. You know that guy. I think you don't, it's not about letting them, it's about making yourself known. And what I've learned, even for me, like the people I like that aren't at my level, I love hustlers. I love movers and shakers. I love people that don't complain. I love hard chargers. And then it doesn't matter. Like you could be a billionaire and you could hang out with a dude who's making maybe 200 grand a year, but it's not the money, it's the drive, it's the fundamentals.
yeah.
Like I say this all the time. It's funny how I am in sales. I'm the easiest person on earth to sell, the easiest one, right? Because for me, if I actually need that service or can offer even a slight value, but I love that person's salesmanship and like just their ability to sell, I'm so attracted to that. So I think it's the same in the world of success is that we've all came from somewhere. You know, one of my other guys that's very successful in my group, he said, nobody started anything. He said, my God, I gotta find this because it just mattered so much. It was so like profound that I thought I memorized it, but apparently I didn't. And so I will tell you what it said. If you give me 1 second
Of course.
to find it. He basically said that nothing, nobody's basically nobody who started anything great started with any authority. They only started with hunger. So I think that like anybody who sees that, who's already there or on the way, is they're in love with that, if that makes sense.
You're saying basically anybody who got to a great place or became very successful started out with an exorbitant amount of hunger to get to that place.
Nobody who started anything great started with any sort of
Authority.
authority. They only started out with hunger. So if you really understand that,
It's just about being hungry and knowing what you want, right?
people love that. It's attractive. So it's like if you're asking me about what these people think, and it's like every one of them is the same way, like for the most part. I mean, obviously, if you're wasting someone's time or you're playing around or anything like that, sure. But it's attractive to be around people that is that your phone or mine?
I think that's yours.
I don't even know what it's doing. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Nobody who started out with anything, uh, any company that's nobody started anything great, like with any sort of anything. They just started out hungry. They figured it out. I was reading a story about how what's his name? Uh Branson started his airline company. He didn't have any money. He literally leased the jet, used the money from the prepaid, like when people pay for flights, they pay now, and he used the pay now to pay for the lease, even though they didn't even get the service till later. It was such a crazy like arbitrage the way he did
Wow.
that.
So he would that's really smart. He would front the income and then lend basically on that capital, or so like spend the capital to get the plane, and then that's what you're saying, right? And
No,
then
what I'm saying is
from there.
he basically convinced Boeing to lease him a jet, and then he sold the flights,
Hmm.
knowing that that money would already be there to pay for the lease because the people paid months in advance for their flights because people book flights in advance.
Wow, really interesting. That's smart. So how do you have you done something like that in lending
No, I mean I've never had to, right? I mean like
or
it was always
similar?
there. You know, lending didn't require that.
Sure. What is one trait that the top 1% has that 99% don't have?
Resilience.
What's the hardest thing that you've done in real estate or lending?
The hardest thing I've done. Probably gone through a couple down markets, right? I mean, it's scary, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know your business, right? You're kind of contingent, your whole business livelihood. I mean, granted, I'm not 100% dependent on this industry and I never will be, but obviously there's a lot of weight on that. So I would say some of the downturns would certainly be one of the things for sure.
What was 2008 like?
2008 was, I remember that. Oof. 2000, I was very young. I would have been 26. So 2008 was a lot different in this industry because life was a lot different in this industry, right? At that point, it was new, 5, 6 years in the business. So it wasn't as, you never knew. At that point, you didn't know really, are you going to stay in this career or what? I actually went into loan modifications for a while and started learning the downside of the business because when I first got in the business in '02, it pretty much was just all upside. So it was actually in retrospect, it was good to see that because you got to see the other side of the business. It's not just a straight line.
Yeah, I had somebody on the podcast say a similar thing where they were basically like, you know, people think the developer is, winning all the time, but he only really got like a realistic view of how it is when he lost all of his money. He got sued for the personal like liabilities when he built a building, and he was like negative 15 million, and that was a crazy thing that he never knew. It's like a thing that developers had to go through.
Right. It's
Yeah.
definitely not a straight line. Definitely comes with some risk, some anxiety, all that fun stuff.
If you were 18 today, what would you do first?
I've learned sales. I think sales is the most valuable skill set. Um, sales and or probably tech, like maybe even both. I think that being able to sell, being able to understand how to communicate with people is ultimately the most valuable skill set, whether you're selling or even communicating, whatever it is. I would learn sales.
Would you rather hire somebody who knows very good sales or somebody who's good at tech and sales, but equally, but 50%, 50%, or somebody 100% sales?
I take 100% sales. I think that, you can have someone who's good at tech. You don't need to have it all in one. Having that sort of cross-trained is cool, but it's like, I don't know, just because a guy's a good field goal kicker, are you going to make him your punter too? You know what I mean? Let him be the field goal kicker.
100%. So specialization over everything else.
Yeah.
What would you say you're best at that makes you successful?
Hunger. And honestly, like as weird as it sounds, I'm never satisfied. I'm happy, but I'm never satisfied. Like I always want to keep moving that needle. I always want to keep going. Um, it's a game. It's a game. Like if you're, Michael Jordan, why did Michael Jordan stop after one championship? Why did he stop after two? Why didn't he? Or two? Why didn't he stop after three, four, five, six? Why did he come back after six? Why did he go play baseball? Like
Yeah,
it's just a game. It's not it's like the sport of life. You know what I mean? This just happens to be the particular game.
sure. I completely agree with that. Do you think that there will ever be a moment in your life where you are satisfied with where you're at?
Yes. I have two daughters, 5 and 2, almost 6 and 3. That changed my life a lot. Spending time with them is a big deal. Being with them, focusing on them is a big deal. Obviously, you still got your core drive, your core fundamentals, but now it's for a different reason. Now it's for something else, something more. So that has to be put in perspective as part of your plan and your objective.
The best piece of advice you ever received?
Wow, I've received a lot. Geez, what's the best piece of advice? I would say someone once told me if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter. So, like, if you're building long-term, sustainable, you're trying to grow and be better, basically, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter today, it doesn't matter at all. Everything that I do is with the intent of long term.
Do you think a lot of people have a very short-term view and that's why they don't become successful?
Yes. Well, and because everything is so short term, their decisions are short term. Everything is so short term, they never ascend tomorrow or the next day because, hey, I'd rather have this item or this thing today instead of being better tomorrow and having that item in 10 years, but it's like sustainable. So if I just think short term, cool, I'm going to have this momentary benefit at tomorrow's cost. So I'm actually just going to stay where I'm at because I'm willing to trade tomorrow for today.
Interesting. What's the worst piece of advice you ever received?
Um, Worse, gosh, man, you're really put me on some. I don't, for someone probably did give me bad advice. I just don't know that I retain very much about it. If I don't like it or like whatever, I won't listen. I'm also a big believer. This may be not just advice. This just may be a way that I operate. I look at the source of who's telling me what. If you're not more successful than me, in finance, I'm not listening to you about finance. If you're giving me fitness advice and you're out of shape, I'm not listening to your fitness advice. If you're giving me marriage advice and you've been married 5 times, I'm not listening to you. To me, that's the golden rule. And some people will say that's harsh. People want to give you advice. Where does advice come from? Right? Like, college professors are the best professors because the guy who's running economics at ABC school who actually ran a business, who was or is successful, that's the best guy to give you advice. So why are we listening to someone who has some theory different than what they did? I mean, they could tell you what not to do, but most of the times the guys that fucked up in that category or girls in that category are telling you what to do, but they can't even do it themselves. They're hypocrites. So that's my golden rule.
Completely agree. A lot of people will say stuff that one, they've either never tried, or two, they think works, never tried as well.
I mean, everybody's
Or just
got
like
their
they're
opinion.
ill informed, right?
Everybody wants to tell you what to do or how to live your life or why this is bad or why this is good. And it's like, look at the source. Like, if you're not killing it or super happy or super fit, like, what am I, where's, like, how should I listen to you? Why should I listen to you?
Would you take advice from somebody who's least successful than you, but you believe will become more successful because of the hunger that you see?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if they're on the right path and maybe there's something they did or they accomplished along the way, absolutely. But so that's a great question and a fair statement slash question. Of course I would. But if you're just screwing around, fucking around, you just want to give me your opinion to give me your opinion because you want to speak, probably not.
Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people
Yeah.
find you?
mjicapital.com, Michael Iuculano, Iuculano, and on Instagram at Hard Money Michael, Michael.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.